Hi, I'm Zarif Rasul and I'm at the Sportaccord convention in Antalya, where I've been catching up with several important figures from the world of sports governance. Earlier today I caught up with International Cycling Union President Brian Cookson, who spoke about his first few months in his new role and his visions for the future.
Well, it's not going to be an easy task, but it's one that we've already started on, and we're putting a lot of time, effort and resources into it. We've established an independent commission to take evidence and to review the problems of historic doping in our sport and how we got to where we were and what we've been doing about it, and to look at the very damaging allegations that have been made that the UCI was in some way complicit in allowing that situation to develop. The Commission's underway, it's working very hard, it's independent, and it's going to produce a report within the next 12 months.
And what are the first raft of changes that you would like to introduce during your first year at the helm?
Well, we've already started. We've established a number of activities, for instance looking at a review of professional cycling. That's a work in progress. I think we've got all of the people around the table now. Some of that work had already started when I took over. We're reviewing that and looking at the best way forward there. We've done a lot of work now in trying to develop women's cycling. We have a new women's commission chaired by my vice president, one of my vice presidents, Tracy Gaudry. We've got at least one woman on every one of the specialist commissions, and they're all there by their ability, not just as token women. They're all there with really good people. So we're listening to all sorts of new ideas, and we're taking on board new opportunities to take our sport forward.
And turning attention to the Olympic movement, you recently made some comments about how perhaps some traditionally summer sports can perhaps be moved to the Winter Olympics in the future. This was met with concerns in some quarters. What do you say to the response? And regarding your initial comments, do you have anything additional to say?
Yeah, well, I want to make it clear that my comments were very much kind of blue sky thinking, off the top of the head kind of thing. But I think if President Thomas Bach of the IOC wants a genuine debate, an open and honest debate, then let's put all of these ideas on the table. That's not to say they're official UCI policy or our strategy. They're just some ideas that I think are worth discussing. Because when I look at the Olympic Games, I see a huge imbalance between the summer and the winter Olympics, the number of events, the number of competitors and so on. And when I travel around the world, I don't find people in the cycling world saying to me, we want less cycling in the Olympics. I find people saying, we want more events, we want to know how can we get our riders qualified, because we can't even get enough competitors qualified for the Olympics. So if part of that will be a restructuring of the Games to have a better balance between the summer and the winter Olympics, maybe that's an idea that's worth talking about. I think it's probably slightly bad manners of me to have mentioned a couple of sports without discussing it with them first, and I'm sorry about that. But these are ideas. We are all in favour, I'm sure, of having a good, frank and honest dialogue, and that's all that I want to contribute to.
Speaking about from a domestic point of view within the UK, obviously the success of British cyclists and British riders at the 2012 Olympics, coupled with successes recent Tours de France, has done so much for the sport in the UK. What can be done to capitalise that and build the sport within the UK?
Well, British cycling is doing a great job. I've had to give up the presidency there when I took on the presidency of the UCI. That's not allowed. I can't be partial to any one country or any one team or anything like that. But I know that they're doing a great job. I think after the London Olympics, we saw 100 new cycling clubs form within 3 months. We saw 25-30% lift in membership of British cycling, record levels of participation, record numbers of bike sales in the UK, and more people out on bikes than I've certainly ever seen in my lifetime. So I think there's lots of good stuff going on there. I'd like to see government investing in more infrastructure to make cycling safer for everyone, to make it easier to get out on the roads, and I think we all need to have, as car drivers and cyclists and bus and lorry drivers, we all need to have a little more tolerant attitude towards each other, so that we make sure cycling is safer on the highway and that we all look after each other a bit more.
Okay. And in terms of sort of, I suppose, expanding upon the fan experience with the key events in cycling, have you got any plans on how to improve them at all over the forthcoming years?
Well, cycling is an interesting sport, particularly road racing, in that it comes to you, and whilst that's a fantastic advantage, it's as if Wimbledon played a set on everybody's village green. it's also a disadvantage in that you don't sell tickets, so you don't get money, you don't get receipts and so on, and therefore the economics of cycling are quite difficult. So we've got to try and find ways of making that better and more effective and more sustainable. Part of that, I think, is improving the viewer experience and the fan experience, so that you don't just watch the television and see the riders riding along for a few hours. You actually see heart rate information, maybe you hear dialogue, you hear you've got television, got cameras maybe on the handlebars, discreetly mounted, maybe microphones within the peloton, this kind of thing, and maybe data about the VAM, the rate at which the riders are ascending. Some of that's kind of confidential in coaching terms, so the teams are a bit reluctant. There are issues around who holds the rights for that kind of information as well. But I think what we've got to try and do is bring the media coverage of cycling into the modern age through the modern outlets that are available to us in the different forms of media and social media.
Just a final point from me. Cycling has been damaged by previous scandals. How long do you think it will take for these perceptions to, I suppose, erode, and for people to start on a wide scale having confidence within it? And how do you stamp out this culture and teach the riders about what isn't acceptable?
Well, I think it is a long-term project. I don't think we'll ever put a stop to people wanting to cheat in any walk of life. There'll always be people who think there's a way of shortcutting to success. What we've got to try and do is improve the chances of catching people. I think we're doing that with things like the biological passport, working with the national anti-doping agencies, with WADA, and with the police and criminal agencies around the world. So we're making good progress in cycling, as other sports are as well. So I think all of that, coupled with education of young riders, the lessons that are being learned from the terrible scandals that we're going through at the moment, and I think there is a really strong lesson from the recent events, and that's I'd say this to young riders coming into the sport. Look, no matter how good you are and how powerful you become, how good your lawyers are, how much resources you are, if you've lied and cheated your way to the top, eventually the truth comes out, and that's the lesson I think that we can learn from the last few years. So don't get yourself into that situation. Compete clean and do your best.